Hello guys, this is Zach the Russian. For those who the first time on my channel, my name is Zach. I'm 20 years old Russian who just recently left Russia because of my views against the wars that Putin started against Ukraine. Many people texted me like, oh Zach, how can you be against this war if there are Nazis in Ukraine and we need to denazify Ukraine? So the question is, are there Nazis in Ukraine? And let me answer, yes. Wait, don't turn off the video, let me explain my position. So, before the 24th of February, when the war started, Putin claimed that Ukraine is a Nazi country, and it's led by Nazi president and the Nazi government.
Еще раз обращаюсь к военнослужащим вооруженных сил Украины. Не позволяйте неонацистам и бендеровцам использовать ваших детей, ваших жен и стариков в качестве живого щита. Берите власть в свои руки. Похоже, нам с вами будет легче договориться, чем с этой шайкой наркоманов и неонацистов, которая засела в Киеве и взяла в заложники весь украинский народ.
Are there really Nazis in Ukraine? Let's find out. So, let's look at the parliament of Ukraine. Is it really ruled by Nazis? In the parliament of Ukraine, which is called Rada, there are almost no parties with a far-right ideology. It's fact that some of the far-right activists took part in the revolution of 2014, being active and able to mobilize really fast. But when the revolution ended and there were elections for Rada, far-right parties got less than 2% of the seats there. The parliament of Ukraine consists out of 450 seats, and the only two far-right parties got only 7 seats together. Only 7 seats out of 450 ones. 6 seats got a party called Svoboda or Freedom, and another one which is called the right sector, got the only 1 seat in the parliament. So, even when they helped the revolution of 2014 to happen, right after the revolution they got less than 2% of people's votes together. Then in 2019 there were the president elections and the most successful far-right candidate got only 1.6% of people's votes. So as you may see, there are less than 2% of the far-right members in the parliament of Ukraine, which is called Rada. So basically the parliament of Ukraine is not full of Nazis. At the start of the war, many people texted me, especially on my Instagram, Zach the Russian, like, oh Zach, have you seen those pictures with Azov Battalion? They are real Nazis, and this is what proves that Ukraine is full of Nazis, because, you know, they are part of the military, so it means the whole country is Nazi. But let me explain. Many people blame Azov Battalion for their neo-Nazi ideals and Nazi symbols they use. Azov Battalion was organized in 2014 during the revolution as people's militia in the city of Mariupol. Then Mariupol became their base, and right now, while there is a siege of Mariupol is taking place, they defended their hometown really persistently. After the revolution, they became part of the military and took part in the war against separatists of Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics. In 2014, the amount of people served in Azov Battalion was about 800 people. In 2022, before the war, that number was about 5,000 people. So yes, many of the members of Azov Battalion have far-right views, but it doesn't mean that the whole country of Ukraine and the whole military are Nazis. In my opinion, it's easier for Ukrainian government to rule and to use far-right radicals if they don't hide and do what the government says them to do. What's important to understand that there are Nazi movement, Nazi members in every country, like Brave Boys and the National Socialist Movement in the USA, like C18 in the United Kingdom. And in Russia, of course, we also got a couple of the far-right movements, for example, RNE, which stands for Russian National Unity. Russian National Unity is an extremely neo-fascist organization. The main symbol of this movement is swastika combined with a Bethlehem star. They use Nazi salute as greetings. They have an extremely nationalist idea that Russian people have a special goal from God. They stand against Jews, people from Caucasus region, and other minorities of Russia. Concerning Adolf Hitler, Barkashov, the leader of the organization, declared, "I consider Hitler a great hero of the German nation and all of the white races. He succeeded in inspiring the entire nation to fight against degradation and the washing away of the national values." Many of its members were taking part in the war against Ukraine in 2014, and they continue to do it right now while the invasion of 2022. One of the members of RNE, Pavel Gubarev, was even taking a position in the government of Donetsk People's Republic as the director of the mobilization in the Ministry of Defense of Donetsk People's Republic. A huge event of the far-right nationalists takes place almost every year in Russia. This event is called Russian March. In 2007 in Moscow, one really important figure from the Russian government participated in this event. It was Dmitry Rogozin, the director of Roscosmos. Roscosmos is the governmental agency which is responsible for space flights, cosmonetics programs, and aerospace research. There is a video of Dmitry Rogozin giving a fierce speech about people who come to Moscow from the Caucasus region.
Проблема в том, что они нас за людей не считают. И не только на Кавказе, а здесь уже, в нашем родном городе.
At the end of this video, he is saying, "Glory to Russia," and shows Nazi salute.
Слава России!
This is the guy who used to argue with Elon Musk on Twitter, but he totally lost the space race to Elon. Rogozin is a great example of far-right radicals in the government of Russia. Or for example, Rusich, a kinda informal battalion of the Russian army that were taking place and were taking part in military actions in 2014 and 15, and many of them right now, many of the members, they are right now taking part in the wars that are going on in Ukraine. Many of the war experts say that Rusich is really similar to Azov Battalion. Most of its members have neo-fascist and neo-paganist views. They used to fight for pro-Russian republics in 2014 and 2015. The leader of this organization is Alexei Melchakov, and he is literally a neo-Nazi. There are many photos with him and Nazi swastikas. In one of the interviews, he literally said that he is a Nazi.
Я нацист. Я нацист. Я не буду углубляться. Националист, там, патриот, имперское направление и так далее. Я прям говорю, я нацист. Можно руку вскинуть.
Recently, many of its members were seen in Ukraine during the invasion of 2022. Alexei by himself signed an official contract to fight against Ukraine. There is videos that I found recently on the Russian social medias about volunteers who are coming from the whole Russia to fight against Nazis in Ukraine. And this guy just literally saying, we came here to protect children if they have white skin.
Я считаю, что каждый мужчина заслуживает уважения своими действиями, защищать чужих детей, которые для нас одинаковы, если они с белой кожей, если они рождены на нашей славянской земле.
So, as you may see, in almost every country there are neo-Nazis. There are people with the far-right ideas that, some nations are better than any other ones. But it doesn't mean that the whole country is Nazi because of the couple of organizations or the couple of the people who have, far-right ideas. What's more important to understand that Vladimir Zelensky, who is the president of Ukraine, has a lot of Jewish origins, and also the Minister of Defense of Ukraine, Alexei Reznikov, he also got a lot of Jewish origins, basically. If Russia denazifying Ukraine, how can they destroy one of the most important memorials in Ukraine that are made to remember what Nazis did to Ukraine? Russia bombed the memorial on Babi Yar. This is basically the place in Kiev where in 1941 at least 33,000 of Jewish people were killed by Nazis. And after such cruelty, such a disaster, Ukrainian people, they made a memorial to remember what Nazis did to their country. And right now in 2022, Russia is bombing Ukrainians and bombing this memorial, basically killing the memory of what Nazis did to Ukraine. Jewish Journal, basically one of the biggest magazines about Jewish culture in the Jewish world, they've made a statement about the war in Ukraine and if Ukraine is led by Nazis. We are scholars of genocide, the Holocaust, and World War II. We spent our career studying fascism and Nazism and commemorating their victims. Many of us are actively engaged in combating contemporary heroes of these evil regimes and those who attempt to deny or cast a veil over their crimes. We strongly reject the Russian government's cynical abuse of the term genocide, the memory of World War II and the Holocaust, and the equipment of the Ukrainian state with the Nazi regime to justify its unprovoking aggression. The rhetoric is factually wrong, morally repugnant, and deeply offensive to the memory of millions of victims of Nazism and those who courageously fought against it, including Russian and Ukrainian soldiers of the Red Army. And at least 180 scholars and professors signed under this statement. To conclude, let me explain why did I answer yes to the question, are there Nazis in Ukraine? Basically because in every country there are far-right people with a far-right mindset. Like in every country there are far-right nationalists. Like in Russia we got Russian marches, we got RNA, we got all of those people who are taking part and right now taking part in the military fighting against Ukraine with the far-right ideas. And we got so many people who support this, basically supporting the war and they are really easy to fool, but that's kind of another topic if Russians support the war. So in my opinion, Ukraine, well, of course, in Ukraine there are some Nazis, as in Russia is in any other country in the world, but it doesn't mean that the whole country is led by Nazis and that the country is basically a Nazi country, as Putin is claiming. So I hope for many of the people who watch this video, it would be obvious since now and then that Ukraine is not led by Nazis and there are no Nazis in the government. It was Zach the Russian. Thank you for watching the video. I hope this war will end soon. Stop Putin, stop the war.